All right, I'm very honored today to be invited here by the BME to give a talk entitled Similarities Between Taoism and Buddhism. Before I start, now it's already 8:20, 20 past 8. So I think I shall deliver the talk in, say, 1 hour. I try to keep it as fast as possible. And then I will leave like 20 to 30 minutes of a Q&A session. I gather that you must have a lot of questions to ask. I mean, talking about similarities between Taoism and Buddhism, I'm sure that you have doubts about what is what. So never mind. Let me try my best to deliver my talk, and then later on we shall see what questions arise. All right. Just now, Brother Lim already introduced me, so I guess I'll just skip this, right? But a little bit introduction. I'm still attached to the University of Malaya, the Department of Chinese Studies, lecturing in Chinese philosophy, Chinese religion, a little bit of Chinese history and Chinese culture. I'm also an ordained Taoist priest. This attire is different from this. This is when I was conducting a prayer, or a ritual. So the attire seems different. So this is a Zhongyuan festival. Zhongyuan festival means the mid-year festival during the 7th lunar month. So people will actually misunderstand it as a ghost festival, but actually it's not in Taoism. It's actually a good festival. Right? But I'm not going to touch upon this topic today because of time constraint. So I would rather go into the topic immediately. Before I start, a few notes. Yeah. First of all, I will emphasize on Taoism more, as I am a Taoist, and I am also a Taoist priest. That's my expertise. And I'm sure that all of you here, as Buddhists, are very familiar with Buddhist doctrines and teachings, right? So I'm not going into details of Buddhism. So I just emphasize on Taoism, major doctrines. Now, I would like to stress here, I'm not here to preach. I'm just here to share with you what are the similarities between Buddhism and Taoism. So don't worry, I'm not trying to convert you. So, I'll just talk about some major teachings of Taoism and some maybe very superficially because of time constraint. Yeah. All right, another one that another thing that we have to notice that I will talk Buddhism as a whole. Right? We know that Buddhism has different schools, right? So I will talk Buddhism as a whole, more to Chinese Buddhism as a matter of fact. Why? Because my training, when I was doing my PhD, my doctorate, I dealt a lot in Mahayana, or the Chinese Buddhism actually, or the teachings of the great master Nagarjuna. So the concept of emptiness and all that got a lot of to do with actually the Tang Dynasty Taoism actually. So I'm more familiar to Chinese Buddhism. So Buddhism as a whole, not in a particular Buddhist schools or sects. All right, and then simple comparison only, right? Simple comparison only. So similarities rather than differences. Now this is why I always think that religions are, exclusiveness is one of the features of religions. This we have to admit. I'm not sure whether you agree with me or not. Exclusiveness is one of the features of religions. Now, I'm not saying that different religions, they should fight with each other. No. Even though we are different, even though exclusiveness is one of the features of religion, but we will strive to harmonize, okay, to live together in harmony, especially in a society like Malaysia, okay, multicultural, multi-religions society. So my view of religions, of the different religions, is to keep the differences, but be harmonious among each other. So I always tell my students and my friends and all that, do not step over to others' religions and criticize their religions. That's no good. Even though exclusiveness is a feature, it's one of the features of religion, but it is no good, to even immoral actually, to step over to other religion and say that yours is not the truth and so on and so forth. No, never do that. Okay, well, you believe in what you believe, and then you practice what you practice, and that's good enough for you to become a good practitioners or good believers of a certain religion. That's my message. All right, so that's why I prefer to talk about similarities rather than differences. All right, let's go into that. What do you think? Is this Taoism? How many say this is Taoism? Raise your hand. No. How many think that this is not Taoism? Raise your hand. Oh my gosh. Actually, these are not Taoism. Right? These are not Taoism. Taoism does not practice this. Can you listen? Can you hear me at the back?
Yes.
Can I? Or you want to raise my voice a little bit? It's okay. Actually, it's fine. So these are actually shamans. Okay? Shamans, they are a person who is possessed by spirit, okay? And typically enters into a trance during a ritual to practice divination. Alright, Taoism is definitely not shamanism. So if these are not Taoism, then what are they? Okay? I will term them as Chinese folk religion. In Chinese, it's called 民间信仰. So 民间信仰 is not 道教. So folk religion is actually different from Taoism. Right? So in Chinese folk religion, spirit medium, okay, are very popular. So in Taoism, it's actually forbidden to let spirit possess human bodies. Okay. So examples, I'll give some examples of Chinese folk religion. Right? I think you're familiar with this, right? The so-called monkey god. Okay, so-called monkey god is actually quite popular in Chinese temples. Actually, right? So the monkey god, but this god is, you'll be surprised, this god is actually a character from a novel, the traditional or classical novel called 西游记, the Journal to the West. Okay? It's actually not from the Taoist scripture. You cannot find this figure in any of the orthodox Taoist scriptures. No, right? So it's actually a character like, Harry Potter. Right? It's something like that, but it's a classical Chinese novel written around in the 16th century, for most probably. So actually, it's the strange thing is, in this novel, actually this monkey god became one of the Buddhas. But at the end, of the story is actually became Buddha. Okay? But in Chinese temples, this god is called the monkey god. Okay? So there is no mention at all of this god in the Taoist canon. Taoist canon is like the Buddhist Tripitaka. It's a collection of all the Taoist scriptures. Right? So you can flip over. You can find from the whole Taoist canon. You actually cannot find this figure, right, from any other of the holy scriptures at all. So usually people will misunderstand this as Taoism. Right? So I put my point clear, right? So okay, another one. This is what? Dato, right? Dato. Or in Chinese they call it Dato Gong. Dato Gong. Actually it's Dato Kramat, or it evolved from the ancient Malays beliefs of Dato Kramat. And the Chinese, when they came here, and then they want to revere or they want to honor the local, spirits and all that, then they actually pray to this so-called Dato Gong. Right? So obviously it's a local invention, not Taoist at all. Right? And for your information, I have heard that the late Kappa Singh already become a Dato Gong in Perak. One of the Perak. It's not funny, don't know. It's actually it happens. So one of the Chinese temples actually carve an image exactly like Kappa Singh, right? And then they said the Dato Kappa Singh. Okay? So this is not Taoism. Okay? This is actually Chinese folk religion. You know why Chinese folk religion? Folk religions, they have a very strong power of imitation and copy and inventions. So whatever they think that this is spiritual, this is become a deity, or so and so forth, then they will pray to this god or deities. This is folk religion. Another one. I'm so sorry, Buddhist, but I have to show you this. Right? This is barbecued, cooked. This is raw. Some temples, they actually do that. Raw, sacrifices. But sacrifice to the gods and deities, temples, obviously. But let me tell you, Taoism actually forbids sacrifices. We don't pray to deities and gods with sacrifices. Okay? Because in the scripture, it is forbidden. It's forbidden. So I'll just give you some examples of this to show that Taoism is actually not Chinese. Chinese folk religion is actually not Taoism. Okay? Right. This one also. What are these? Money, yeah. More money. Right? They call it hell money or what money, whatever. Right? But the Chinese believe that if you burn this money to God, God will in turn give you more money. Right? So actually Taoism does not teach that gods need to spend money. If you burn so much money to the gods, I think they need to build a bank. They need to have central bank to keep all this so-called money. That is not possible. And why do gods need money? Is there a mid-valley mall up there in heaven? They need to buy something? No, right? So Taoism actually does not teach that gods to spend money. These are all practices of Chinese folk religion, right? Chinese folk religion. So which is which? This one is? This one is? Folk religion, right? Now this one is actual Taoist, and Taoist priest. Chinese folk religion and Taoism. Alright. So I've put my points clear. So let us go on to talk a little bit about what Taoism really is. Now, according to one of the scholars, religious scholars, C.K. Yang, he actually grouped religions, especially Chinese religions, into two categories. One is called institutional religion, and another one is called diffused religion. Okay? Now, their characteristics, according to C.K. Yang, are for institutional religion. Normally, these kind of religions, they are formally established, right? And they are systematically organized. Means they have institutions, member of the clergy, and things like that. Okay? And also official doctrine. This is very important. Official doctrine. The official doctrines means doctrines that make up a religion, that religion. Right? For example, if a person claims that he's a Buddhist, he or she is a Buddhist, but he or she doesn't believe in for example, the Four Noble Truths, then strictly speaking, he or she is not a Buddhist. Correct? So this is very important for a religion, the official doctrine. So in other words, institutional religion are not open to simple or easy interpretation. You just cannot easily or simply interpret a doctrine or doctrines of a certain orthodox or institutional religion, because these doctrines, they are official, right? So, well, according to C.K. Yang, it's like that. Yeah. And also, institutional religion, they have common practices, meaning even though there are different schools, but some practices are the same. Okay? For example, if puja here, so and so, such and such, in the Chinese traditions of Buddhism, although they may seem a little bit different, but some common ideas are there. Common ideas. So they all, even though different, even though they are different schools, but some common features, common practices are there. So this is another feature of institutional religion. Now, on the contrary, diffuse religion, they normally are not formally established. Anybody can claim that, okay, he invented or he founded a new religion or new belief system. And otherwise, loosely organized. No official doctrine, right? And no common practices. That's why in Chinese temples, you can see that every temples, almost every temples, they practice differently. When you ask this temple why, even though they are worshipping the same God, you ask this temple who is this God, what is the teachings and all that, give your answer, and then if you go to another temple, praying to the same God, okay, worshipping the same God, but you'll give another different answer. And this is actually what happened to Chinese folk religion. Actually, Chinese folk religion is grouped by C.K. Yang as a diffused religion. So Taoism is actually different from Chinese folk religion. So folk religion usually is not well organized. So folk religion usually does not have distinct doctrine. And folk religion usually likes to imitate, borrow, copy from institutional religions. That is why, okay, that's why, how to say, sometimes you may encounter this kind of strange situation that mediums claim that Buddha, okay, has possessed it. So, but we know that that is not possible. Okay, either from Taoist point of view or from the Buddhist point of view, that's not possible at all. So, what I'm trying to say is that Taoism actually has its own uniqueness. Okay? It has its own founder. It has its own pantheon. Pantheons mean gods and deities, systematical level of gods and deities. Doctrines, right? Scriptures, especially the Tao Te Ching, and also just now I mentioned Taoist canon. Taoist canon actually have almost 5,000 fascicles. 5,000 fascicles means one fascicle means something like one chapter, right? So like 5,000 fascicles. So it's a huge collection of Taoist scriptures. And also Taoism is actually an institutional membership. It has an institutional membership, means it has its very own system of clergy, right? And among them, they actually have level of clergy. So things like that. Okay, of course they have also so-called places of worship or temples. In Taoism, we call the places of worship, we call them Guan, Dao Guan. Okay. Buddhism's places of worship is called Si, Fo Si. Right? In Chinese, of course. Right? In Chinese, Dao Guan. So in other words, in Malaysia, we have a lot of Chinese temples, but we have very, very few Dao Guan, almost none. And I'm trying to build one. I'm not saying that there is no Dao Guan at all. Okay? There are, but very few. And also the missions, their missions, whether they are going into the Orthodox, they want to spread Orthodox Taoism or not, that's another question. And also the system of maintaining or controlling the so-called Dao Guan in Malaysia is not very clear. Okay? You know, normally Dao Guan should be handled by the priest, the Taoist priest. But in Malaysia, even though you have Dao Guan, but a group of committees members is actually running the so-called Dao Guan. So in that case, I mean, in my opinion, that is actually not healthy for a religious institution. You get what I mean? A religious institute must be handled or must be managed by priests or clergy. For example, in Buddhism, in this case, clergy means the monks and not the committee members and so forth. Okay. So yeah, there is some difficulties that Taoism faces in Malaysia. Well, okay. And also Taoism has its own rules and practices. Okay. So as such, like Buddhism, Taoism is an institutional or organized religion. Right? So, all right, now, what is Tao? What is Taoism? So this is a Chinese character Tao. Literally, it means the way. Literally, it means the way. Okay. But here in Taoism, it is not. It's not actually the way. It is actually a substance. Okay. a abstract substance. Now, what is substance? I will tell you later. Yeah? So this is actually the Chinese character Tao, where the name or the title of Taoism came about. Taoism, right? Now, what is Tao? Now, in Taoism, Tao is the ultimate belief, which means there's no other belief higher or than the Tao. So, as a Taoist, you must have this very clear belief. Okay? Or you may say that Tao is the ultimate truth for the Taoist. And secondly, Tao is the most sacred belief, right? And Tao is a true belief. What does it mean by true? True means it actually penetrates, okay, in every aspect of. If you are a believer, right? If you are a Taoist, that means Tao. You must believe that Tao actually penetrates, okay, in every aspect of your, for example, life, right? Meaning, you need to believe that Tao exists. You need to believe that you come from the Tao. You need to believe that you may one day go back or return to the Tao. You must believe that Tao is eternal. There is one substance, one thing called Tao, and it is eternal. So if you are able to unite with Tao, or in other words, return to Tao, if Tao is eternal, then you will achieve eternity. That's simple. Okay? And also, if you are Taoist, Tao penetrates in all aspects of life, right? So if you communicate with other people, you must think of Tao. Okay? Of course, Tao. What is Tao? How to communicate according to Tao? In the scripture, for example, the Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching will teach you, for example, naturalness, non-action, okay? Non-violence, and things like that, right? Less desire, things like that. So that's why I say that Tao is a true belief, and it penetrates in all aspects of a Taoist life. All right, in Taoism, Tao is the foundation or substance of all existence. Now, I have mentioned substance several times. Now, what is substance? Substance is not a thing here. Well, in the chemistry class, you say substance. Substance means the chemical thing. Not here. The meanings of substance is not like that here. Substance means a thing, something that is the underlying truth of everything. Without this thing, everything just cannot exist. Everything just cannot gain their existence. This kind of thing is called a substance. Now, Tao is this kind of so-called substance. So, in short, okay, you have to understand that. Okay, as a Taoist, you need to understand that Tao is the foundation of all existence. Without Tao, nothing can exist. Right? And secondly, Tao is the origin of all things. Okay? Tao is the origin of all things. If not, Tao is not only the substance of everything. Tao is not only supporting all existence, but Tao also is the origin of all things. Okay? Original. Meaning, Tao gives birth to everything in the universe, including the universe itself. Okay? Tao is the origin of all things, okay? Including you and me, including this table, okay? This laptop. Without Tao, this laptop just cannot be a laptop. Okay, right? Oh, okay. And thirdly, Tao is the orderliness of all phenomena. By orderliness, I mean that if sometimes you may ask this question: Why a dog is a dog? Why a cat is a cat? No explanation. Why? Because it is the dogs that gain a principle, a kind of a principle, okay, from the Tao to become a dog. Then it becomes a dog. Just that simple. You know what I mean? I try to put it as easy as possible to make you understand. Meaning, everything must gain their own Tao to become something. For example, we human beings, why we are human beings? Because we gain a human being's Tao.
Meaning you are created by a Tao.
No.
The Tao create a dog.
No.
The Tao create a human being.
No, I'll come to this later. That's why I say the origin, I didn't use create. Okay? Taoism does not believe in creationism. I'll tell you later why. Right? So it's not creation. It's just that you gain or you have this kind of certain Tao, right? Then it becomes something. Then you become that.
Like the DNA. Is it the energy?
Some you may call it. I would still rather to use the term substance than energy, because energy is very how to say, it's kind of material. It's very materialistic. You can actually test for energy.
What do you call it substance in Chinese?
本体 体
Substance here means elements.
Substance here means, well, I mean in philosophical terms. In philosophical terms, for example, in Aristotle, I'm not going to Aristotle, but Aristotle used substance, right? But this substance, I stress again, is not materialistic. It's actually a thing, okay? Okay?
It must have come from somewhere. This substance must have come from somewhere. In the universe.
Correct.
It's come from somewhere in the universe.
Correct.
Is it nature?
Nature is not quite correct, nature, because nature, you are referring to Mother Nature, right? Or Mother, the universal Mother. It's much more subtle than that.
What about conditions?
Conditions, no.
So this substance comes from the universe.
No, substance begets the universe. If you don't have this substance Tao,
There's no universe.
no universe. Why? Because universe must have a certain Tao. Indeed, only it can become a universe. So this principle or this thing is what we call the substance. Is what we call the Tao. Right? Well, I mean, it's very difficult for us to scrutinize what is Tao, because the very first chapter of the Tao Te Ching already tells us. Okay? The Tao can be explained, is not the eternal and real Tao. So how do we know that there is a Tao? You must cultivate. Without cultivation, you can not actually know what is Tao. Just like when you drink water, right? Only you yourself know how warm or how cold the water is. If people tell you, oh, that this water is cold, this water is warm, if you do not taste it, you do not drink it, you will never know what is it meant by cold and warm. Right? So I'm talking about Tao here. Okay? So, I mean, in Taoist scripture, it's already mentioned that Tao can actually be preached, but cannot be passed on. Understand? Tao, what is Tao? Can be preached, yes. but it cannot be passed on from me to you, from a master to a disciple. Cannot. You must believe in it, and you must practice it, and you must cultivate it. Only one day, probably, you may know what is actually the Tao. Okay? So I'm actually trying to explain what is Tao. Yeah. Okay. Let me go on. So Tao's characteristics is real, true, eternal, and good. So sometimes my students, okay, will ask me, okay, 老师, if you say that Tao is something's what we call nature or principle, what about a thief? What about a rapist? A rapist, a thief, he come to you, okay, 道长, let's be honest here. You say that things got its own principle, right? My principle is to become a thief. And the rapist, my nature, my principle, my Tao is to become a rapist, so I rape people. Is that true? Is that correct? No, right? Why? Because it violates this, at least. So understand now? Okay? So Tao is actually real, true, eternal, and also must bear in mind this Tao is utterly good. 至善. 至善. Right? Tao's mysterious workings manifest as the highest God, San Qing Tianzi. You know why it manifests as the three pure ones, or the San Qing Tianzi? Because Tao is very abstract, right? We human beings, with our brain, sometimes just cannot understand abstract things. So Tao, at a certain point, manifests itself as a human form gods. A human form gods. Well, can you tell the grammatical error here? God, correct. Why? Because it's three. But these three, they are actually one. Okay? It's some kind of Christian Trinity concept. Something like that. Okay? But it's not actually the same. Yeah? Something like that, the Trinity. So this is what I call the Taoist Trinity. So even though they are San three, okay, they are actually one. Okay? So literally, San Qing means San Qing Tianzhen means the heavenly virtue of the three pure ones. Right? Now they are Yu Qing, Shang Qing, and Tai Qing. Okay? Yu Qing represents the Tao. Shang Qing represents the Holy Scriptures. Tai Qing represents the Master. Right? Thus, Sambao, the three treasures, or the three jewels. Okay? Three. So, not only Buddhism has three jewels, Taoism actually also has three jewels or three treasures. Of course, their content are different, right? Their contents are different. These are the human forms, San Qing. Okay. Now, I always tell my fellow Taoist friends, do not cling onto these images. Do not cling into these images. I mean, in the scriptures, the scriptures put it very clear. Yeah, these are only convenience. Okay, for convenience sake. Okay, that Tao manifests itself into this kind of images to help us to cultivate. Okay, so one day if you have successfully practiced Taoism whatsoever, and then one day you go to this heaven, and then you say, oh, how come this three, the three pure ones is not what the temples, like similar to temples, right? Understand what I mean? So these are just images, okay, for the sake of for the believers, okay, to practice, okay, easily, right? So the three treasures, somehow, but of course, Taoism believes that the three treasures are depicted and passed on Taoist doctrines to the world through sacred scriptures, right? Then compared to the Buddhist Sangha, in the Buddhist three treasures, okay, they are Dhamma, Buddha, and Sangha. Okay, something similar but not entirely the same, right? Okay. Now the basic thing is that these three treasures, either from the Taoist side or Buddhist side, they actually provide us with methods of practices. Agree? I'm sure they agree, right? I mean, for example, Buddha already put out the doctrines of the teachings, and Sangha teaches us the correct way to follow the religion, and of course the Dhamma. Okay, you have Dhamma. Okay, only you can have the correct path to the truth. So same thing for Taoist. Okay, same thing for Taoism. The three treasures actually provide us or convey to us the proper methods to cultivate. So if one is able to unite through these all these methods, okay, to unite with the Tao, then eternal life will be attained. Okay. Now eternal life here in the Thai wisdom is called Xian. Okay, Xian. Okay, or immortals. Okay, immortals. But please bear in mind that these immortals, the English term immortals, is actually not accurate, okay, to be used to translate Taoist Xian. Why? Because immortal means a human beings that cannot die. Okay, a human beings that cannot die. Okay? He or she lives forever. Right? Now in Taoism, yes, Xian can live forever, but Xian is not a human being. That's the difference. So that's why I say that sometimes English word is very inaccurate to use English word to translate certain Chinese terms or religious terms. For example, another example is dragon. Dragon, right? This is actually not correct. Okay? It's actually inaccurate to use the term dragon to translate the Chinese term long. Why? Because in the Western mind, in Western culture, dragon is actually a good or bad thing. Good. In Western culture, in Western belief, no, right? Disastrous if there is a dragon. But in Chinese culture, long is very noble, right? It's very good, a good thing, an auspicious thing, right? So if you use dragon to translate long, that's why a few hundred years ago when the Western missionaries, they go into China, everywhere they see long, they got scared. They say, oh, you all are worshipping the devils. And all that. This is actually a misconception. All right. So I mentioned that there are many methods to cultivate, right, in Taoism. So this is only one of the many methods. Yeah? Now this is actually meditation, right? Meditation. So this is the actual Taoist doing meditation. Now this kind of Taoist meditation is called Nei Dan. Nei Tat. And this is actually Buddhist Chan Samadhi, Zuo Chan. I mean, some tradition or some Buddhist schools they do practice that, but in Chinese Buddhism, especially the Chan school, practice that. Or even the Tien Tai school also actually practice the Zhi Guan. Okay? So what's called the Zuo Chan Samadhi. Of course, I'm not saying that these two methods they are the same. No, because according to Taoist Nei Tat, you are not only purifying your mind, okay? You are actually refining your body. Okay? In Taoist term, it is called 性命双修. Okay? To cultivate together your body and your mind. 性命双修. So it's originally a little bit different from the Buddhist Chan Samadhi Zuo Chan. So, but of course, the ultimate purpose of these two meditations, we say that they are the same because they are actually trying to find the truth. Okay? They are actually trying to scrutinize, okay, the truth. Okay? Now, both I think Taoism and Buddhism believes that. Both believe that through meditation, okay, some kind of truth can be revealed. Okay, so this is one of the methods trying to find the ultimate truth. Okay. Now, actually, meditation is also another mistranslation. Meditation and 坐禅 and 内丹 is actually, well, never mind. All right. Now the basic.
Can you explain the part of meditation one just now?
Okay, meditation. I mean the literally it just means close your eyes and let your mind just empty your mind. That's meditation. But Buddhist so-called meditation involves a lot of actually practical things. For example, the breathing. The breathing, and also the main purpose of Buddhist meditation is to become enlightened. So actually, normal people also can meditate. You just close your eyes and try to let your mind, try to empty your mind. That is meditation. It's meditation.
How?
No, in generally. Literally, meditation means that. But in Buddhist meditation or Buddhist so-called 坐禅 or Chan Samadhi, just I mentioned just now, it involves a lot of practical methods.
How is Tao?
Tao, yes, Tao, lagi, even more sophisticated. Because I mentioned just now, in Taoism, so-called meditation not only involves the mind, but also it involves the body. This is where the concept, or this is where the element of qi comes in. Qi. Taoism talks a lot about qi. So when in Taoist meditation, not only you need to empty your mind, calm your mind, so on and so forth, but you need to refine your body in terms of refining your qi, inner qi.
How do you do that?
Sorry?
How do you refine your body?
So there are methods and there are levels. 炼精化气, 炼气化神, 炼神还虚 levels. So if you do not find a proper master, do not practice that. Okay, now in Chinese newspapers, you see some advertisement. You say in 7 days you will get this kind of Taoist, the level. Don't believe that, please. You need to practice at least months or even years to achieve that. Understand? So there are so many con men out there. So do not problem. Alright, so yeah, I'll come back to meditation.
So your meditation, you say empty the mind, don't think anything. That one is from what concept? Western concept.
From
Yeah.
the Taoist concept.
But you say that Tao is more complicated.
Sophisticated, and because it involves both body and the mind. Xing and Ming. Xing means mind. Ming means body. So body, of course, mind involves talks about how to empty your mind, how to keep calm. The body part involves your qi in your body. Okay, your qi. So whether you may ask another question, how do you know that there are qi in your body? So if you have friends practicing Tai Chi Chuan, and he or she has practiced for quite a long time, ask her or ask him whether at a certain point of time you can feel some heat or something running in your body or not. If there is, that proves that qi exists in human's body. Of course, you need to practice that. You practice. I've gone so far, too far. Well, let's come back. All right, this diagram shows that Taoism believes that human beings are the combination of yin and yang. If one day your body only has yin left, you die and you become a ghost. So to reverse the process, you need to strive to lessen your yin and produce more yang. And at one point of time, if your body has totally 100% of pure yang, you become xian and you attain eternal life. So, this message is that. This message is telling us that as a human beings, you have two choices. Either you want to become a ghost or you want to become a xian. If you do not practice or you don't cultivate, and then you have a lot of desires, you like to do bad things and all that, then the yin accumulates. And if one day your body has 100% yin, then you die, and you become ghost. Right? So this is what Taoism believes. Right? Now to compare with Tao Buddhism, just a simple comparison. You may say that this is something like a stage of nirvana, something like not entirely the same, something like nirvana. So this, to the Buddhist or to Buddhism, human beings and ghosts, they are actually samsara. Right? So, both regions, even though they interpret it in different ways. For example, Taoism used the yin and yang, concepts of yin and yang, to explain why human beings should cultivate. But in Buddhism, of course, Buddhism will say that, including human beings and all other rhymes, for example, ghosts or the devils, they are actually in the rhyme of samsara. So, in order to go out from samsara, you need to reach something like nirvana, or actually arahat, okay? Or for the Chinese Buddhism, or maybe Bodhisattva, that stage, okay? Only you can have the chance to come up from the samsara. Right?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Sorry.
Is this yin and yang something like karma?
No, it's just an element. Okay? It's not karma. Karma is actions. Right? Karmas are actions and retributions. Yin and yang is just something like an element in your body. For example, when you are sick, when you're having a fever, that means your yang is more, something like that. Your body is telling you that, okay, now you're heating up, right? So the yang is more. So you need something to balance it, to pull the heat down, to lessen the yang, and then you need some herbs, for example. Okay? You drink Chinese herbs to cool you down. And then Chinese herbs, that kind of Chinese herbs are yin. So yin yang is a pair of notions, okay? Used by the ancient Chinese. Of course, now we're still using it, especially in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, to try to explain how things works. The same here for Taoism, right? Because Taoism sprang from the Chinese culture, right? So Taoism also uses yin and yang.
Just now you mentioned that if you reach 100% yin, then you will die. But everybody will die one day. Right?
Sorry? Yes, correct.
So how do you explain that? Does it, even though the person do not 100% yin also have to die, is it?
That's why if you do not cultivate, okay, now if you are human beings, when you are born, okay, you are half 50% yang and 50% yin. As days goes by, the yang lessens, the yin gets more. So one day, you do not have yang anymore, so you die.
You mentioned that if your yin is more, you die. No more yang. Then you'll be born as a ghost.
Not born as a ghost,
You'll be a
but
ghost.
yeah,
You'll be a
become a
ghost.
ghost, yes.
Because the Taoists don't believe born. Not born.
Rebirth?
Yes, don't believe in rebirth.
We acknowledge, Taoism acknowledges the phenomenon of rebirth, but rebirth is not an essential teaching.
Of the Tao.
Yes,
So you acknowledge.
I'll come to that later.
So in other words, if the yin is so strong, that human being die will be a ghost. I mean, will be a ghost. Then if you're not young, you'll be a Sen, become a Sen. So this Sen, how do you define the Sen in terms of Buddhism? Because in between there's no devas for you all. Tao don't believe in devas.
Yes,
Don't
we believe in devas.
Don't believe in going to born as a dog or a cat. Either be ghost or Sen.
This is why I say I try to talk about the similarities rather than the differences. Okay, your questions is about differences already. So whether
because you said either Zhou Gui or Zhou Sen. Either Zhou Gui or Zhou Sen. I understand. It's hard.
Should I reply in Hokkien? No, what I'm trying to say is that if you do not cultivate, you will become ghost definitely. After dying, yes. You go to a space called Yin Jian Di Fu, okay? The world after, but not hell, please. Not hell. I'll come to that again later. Come to that later. But because you do not practice, you do not cultivate, you do not get united with the Tao, so you have no chance to become Xian.
So the practice, you are referring to the practice in Tao, not practice in what our personal religion is. The practice of Tao.
Practice of Tao is practice what your religion is.
Your religion. But your religion might not be Taoist, could be a Buddhist, could be a Mahayana.
Practice the good, cultivate the good.
Cultivate the good is not enough actually. cultivate the good is actually for good karma, for good retribution. But whether it can send you to the ultimate heaven, I mean, according to the Taoist sense, that's a different question.
So in other words, your Taoism also believe in 37 ranks of existence?
Later I'll come to I'm just driving a car in the North-South Highway. You're already taking the speed bullet train. Or maybe I'm too slow. Okay, I'll try to speed up. Alright, so the basic idea is like that, yeah? Okay, this is part of my doctorate thesis. Actually, I drew this diagram in my thesis. I'm trying to explain how human beings come from the Tao, right? And then can go back to the Tao and be united with the Tao, right? A very simple diagram. Okay, let us go through this very quickly. So from the Tao, okay, remember Tao begets all things, right? So Tao begets all things, also including human beings, of course. If you do not practice Tao or you do not cultivate Tao, then you will keep on circulating in this rhyme of confinement. Rhyme of confinement in Taoism means something like the Buddhist samsara, but it's not actually true because samsara means rebirth. I mean, if you still in samsara means you have to reborn again and again and again. But in Taoism, not necessarily. If you still confined to the rhyme of confinement, meaning you haven't the Tao, you haven't attained the Tao. Okay? So you like after you die, you just live in the space or a place called the Yin, called the Difu, or the world after. Okay? Now, I have mentioned already, yin, right, become ghost. So if you live in that kind of space, that kind of environment, you do not have what? Light, right? And then you are like, when you're sick, you cannot think clearly because you do not have guidance. You do not have light. Because that kind of situation is called the rhyme of confinement in Taoism. Alright? So if you decided, you still remember you have two choices, okay? Xian and Ghost. So if you decided to practice Tao, to follow Tao and practice Tao, one day you practice sit and forget, for example. This sit and forget is about meditation, mind meditation. And this bodily transcendence is about the body cultivation. That's why Taoism stresses on Xing Ming Shuang Xiu, the dual cultivation of the mind as well as the body. Right? So if one at one point of the time you already achieved this, but you still cling to the survival of the body or mind or whatsoever, you will drop back. Okay? You will drop back the rhyme of confinement. So this is very important, yeah? Clinging. Do not cling to whatsoever. If once you cling to something, your hope to become a Xian. Gone. Understand? So until here, if you cling, come back to the rhyme of confinement. If you forget, you treat that this survival of mind and body is nothing. Right? So you at that point of time, then you will be united with the Tao. Okay? So this is how Taoism works. Yeah? I hope you get what I mean. Alright, so okay, great master, yeah? So all these methods, they're actually delivered okay, by the ancient great masters. Okay? So the department of these methods is great masters. So one of these great masters in Taoism is Lao Tzu. Okay, Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. So Lao Tzu, Taoists believe that Lao Tzu is the earthly form of Tai Ching. Still remember the three pure ones? One of the three pure ones is called Tai Ching. So Tai Ching actually manifests himself or itself to become Lao Tzu in around 571 BCE, before Common Era. That's around how many years ago? 2,600 years ago, roughly. Right? So, yeah, as you can see here, this is actually what the Taoists believe. So, Lao Tzu actually wrote the script Tao Te Ching, and Taoist doctrines are based upon the Tao Te Ching. So, if you want to understand or know what the Taoists believe, so read the Tao Te Ching. It's very short text. It only has like roughly 5,000 Chinese characters. 5,000 Chinese characters, very short. But the doctrines is based on the Tao Te Ching. Right? For example, the Qing Jing Wu Wei and so on. Then I'll come to that later. So, like Buddha, Lao Tzu is one of the great masters that convey the truth to the world. Okay? Note that Buddha and Lao Tzu were born around the same time, around 6th century BCE. It's very strange. One is in China, this one is in Nepal, or maybe India. Depends on how you see it. Okay? Now, why I mention this? Because sometimes you say that Buddha is the founder of Buddhism. Is that true? No, right? Same case here for Lao Tzu. Because why? Because Buddha was actually one of the teachers in our world, here and now. But before him, we have many teachers, right? So we can, in these strict terms, we cannot say that Buddha was the founder of Buddhism. Same case for Lao Tzu also. We cannot say that Lao Tzu was the founder of Taoism. We say that Lao Tzu was the teacher or master that convey or deliver the Taoist truth to the world. That's it. So apart from the manifest as the Taoist God, Taoist also begets all things. I'll come to your question here. Right? Now, beget, not create. Right? Beget means give rise to, give birth to, beget. So when I use the, in Tao Te Ching, it is put in this way: Tao sheng wan wu, sheng, not chuang. Chuang is create. Sheng is beget. So here, when the scripture uses beget, it implies that, like Buddhism, Taoism does not teach creationism. No God or no deities created this universe. No. Now, how things came about? Very simple. Taoism says that things came about naturally, 自然, in accordance to their own nature. Now, please bear in mind that for all of you, if you are practicing Buddhist, this so-called nature is actually not what the Buddhists call swabhava. Swabhava. Swabhava means our own nature. Okay, these actually two different concepts. Okay, I cannot go into detail. This just bear in mind that. So when I say that things came about naturally in accordance to their own nature, it means that, I mean, we have discussed, actually we have discussed earlier, right? You've got that certain you have certain principle. You gain a certain principle, then it becomes a certain thing. This kind of so-called nature, yeah? So basic Taoist teachings, naturalness, yeah? Non-interference. Non-interference means do not interfere with things' own nature. Okay? If the people do not like GST, you don't implement GST. That's called non-interference. Understand? Tranquility, right? This is common, living desires. Okay? So don't have too much desires. Harmony, non-violence, so on. Okay. Now, basic practice of Taoism. Revere the Tao, cultivate the Te. Okay, Tao, we have mentioned the Te. What is Te? Te is actually Tao in things is called Te. Tao. Right? But everything I have mentioned already, everything has its own Tao, right? So this Tao in things are called Te. Okay, are called Te. And pray to divine beings, okay, remember one's ancestors, right?
So what do you mean by cultivate?
Cultivator means, okay, go back to this. All this. The practice is non-violence, right? Limit the desires. Then, you can say that you're cultivating the Gong De De, but the meaning is different. Gong De De means morality, means effect, means some retribution, some good deeds that we can get. Merit. Okay, but this here is not merit. Here is what we call the things principle or things own nature. It's called the. Okay? Right, pray to divine. Okay, honor or remember one's ancestors. Why? Because Taoism believes that after you have died, you do not go, you don't reborn immediately. You go to a space. Okay? And then Taoism believes that, Taoists believe that one day if he or she dies, you will meet up with his or her ancestors. And something like that. So, 祭祖 or the ancestor honoring, or some people say, or some people call it ancestor worshiping. Okay? I'm quite reluctant to use the term worship because we do not worship our ancestors. Okay? We just honor them. We just treat them as if they are still alive. We eat, they eat. We sleep, they sleep. Something like that. Yeah? So we don't worship ancestors.
So when you eat, they eat. So you put a dish beside on the table.
That's why after offerings, after offer this food to our ancestors, we eat the food also. Some people say, oh, after the ancestors have eaten, throw away the food and so on. That's not right. That's not correct. When your parents are alive, you eat on the same table with them. How come after they died, then you do not want to eat together with them? That's not filial piety at all.
Because this incident brings you a story, a real story, of a friend. The husband passed away. Whenever have breakfast, she'll have a breakfast on the side. She'll leave a plate of what he used to eat for his breakfast. Lunch, she'll eat her share. He will have his share, but there's nobody that is dead already, buried, cremated already. That is a ghost. He's in the house.
Then if Why are you afraid of your own husband?
So, but then
Just because he already passed away and become a ghost? No, right? Get what I mean? Get what I mean? Even though they live in they already live in a different rhyme. I mean, of course, Buddhism doesn't believe in that, of course, because after probably the 49 up to 49 days of Hosanna, rebirth, okay, you'll be reborn according to the karma and so on and so forth. But Taoism actually believes that. Okay, of course, when you see your deceased, for example, mother, you go away. Not right? Right? You'll be happy to see your deceased mother actually.
But you don't want them to be a ghost forever, man.
So if you do not want to become a ghost forever, cultivate.
From the Tao perspective, then if someone passes away, become a ghost, then how long will they become a ghost?
Forever.
Then after that, then how do they get the Tao?
Forever. Until at a certain point of time, the whole universe perishes.
Okay,
If you do not, and until then, you still do not attain. Yeah, something like that. You perish together with the whole universe. The whole, what we call something like the Buddhist Deva Loka or Deva, something like that.
but in Tao, that means it's annihilation, no more already.
Correct.
So no more samsara also.
Correct.
That's
Go to
Nirvana already.
the Yes, correct. You are correct. So, to avoid that, please cultivate early before that time comes.
How many precepts are we talking about?
Correct? Oh, okay, precept.
Oh,
Right? Okay, keeping precepts and also accumulate merit, okay? And then try to attain eternal life, or what we call 成仙, okay? Eternal life. Right? Now remember, people always misunderstand Taoism, saying that Taoist eternal life means enjoyment, right? Enjoy forever, but enjoy with your wife also eternal life. You enjoy your wife together, No. Why? Because this kind of enjoyment still is a kind of clinging. If you still have this kind of clinging, you cannot attain eternal life. This is what Taoism is trying to say. So please don't get caught by the TV dramas, by the movies. The scene up there, they have boyfriends, girlfriends, they kill each other because of power, struggling, and so on and so forth. None of this will happen in the Taoist heaven. It's all fake. Yeah? Alright, precepts. Come to your. So the most basic ones are these. Right? It's quite similar to the Buddhist Sila. Right? So compare to the Buddhist Sila. Okay? How about drinking alcohol? Intoxicated. Right? Alright? Okay, I'm not going into details of this, but Taoists, apart from that, the basic one, they have already many precepts. For example, these 10 precepts, right? Do not kill, do not steal, do not cheat, do not get intoxicated. Okay? Do not get intoxicated. Means actually Taoism allows people or believers to drink, but not to the extent of that's intoxicating. You know why? Because wine or alcohol is actually we actually offer this to the deities or gods. Okay? Now, why? Of course, long story. I'm not going to. There are reasons. There are reasons.
The 10th precept, is it the one just like you say we should get the Tao as soon as possible?
Where?
But then the 10th precept is saying that that means you never get the Tao. You wait until everybody.
Sorry, what? Number 10. As long as all beings have not attained the Tao, I not expect to
Then
do so.
forever you will get.
Yeah, this is something like the Guan Shi Yin. Yeah, the vow. Okay, trying to save all not only human beings, but
The one
sentient
is like
beings.
not attained Buddhahood, but this one is different. You say that the end of the universe then is.
In that case, if in that case, nothing can be done. Natural. Still remember naturalness? 自然. Okay, nothing can be done because the gods already told you, right? All right, 27 precepts. Okay? I'm not going to one by one. There are many, even 108 or 300 precepts. Of course, these precepts. These precepts are for the monks, the Taoist monks, and all that. The practitioners of not for the lay believers. And all that. 27. Just examples, examples of the Taoist precepts. All right, retribution. You just really need to speed up. So Taoism teaches that every action continues an effect. Of course, so an individual will receive his own retribution, no doubt. Right? So retributions also can be inherited from ancestors or passed down to descendants. Now this is different from Buddhism. Okay? Because Buddhism believes that karma, individual karma is individual. Right? So in this is what Taoists call Cheng Fu. Cheng means inherit. Fu means passed down. Okay? So compared to the Buddhist concept of karma, a little bit different. Alright, good deeds. Okay. Taoism teaches that doing good deeds ensure one to enter one of the 28 heavens. Very happy, So you do not need to practice, you don't need to cultivate, just do good deeds. Then you can go into one of these heavens. Okay? But these 28 heavens are not permanent. Yes, are not permanent. You can go to one of these heavens, yes. But this heaven, if you go to that heaven, you stop there, you do not practice. One day, either go down or one day you perish together with the universe when the time comes. Yes? Armageddon is it.
You say that what's your there's no rebirth, how to go down?
No rebirth. You see, the Buddhist concept of rebirth is actually a different subject. Agreed? When you rebirth, you are not the same subject anymore. Only your karma, or only your consciousness, what they call the Shi, the alaya consciousness, is the same. Alaya consciousness is actually a store. Okay? Bring to your next life. But you're actually not the same person or not same anymore. Okay? But in Taoism, it's different. You keep the same individuality.
There's a concept of soul, is it, in Taoism?
Something like that, yes.
Soul
魂魄.
is the same throughout.
Yes, you may say that. But still is different from Buddhism. So once enter of these heavens, if one still need to strive to achieve eternity. Right? So remember, these 28 heavens, they are not permanent. So compared to the Buddhist concept of Devaloka or Triloka, Sanjie, or the Tianjie or the Sanjie, something similar. Again, hell. Yes, Taoism does mention about hell. Same as Buddhism also mentioned about hell, right? So hell is a place of punishment, not a place for all deaths. Okay? Not all are condemned to hell after death. If you do not do bad things, you do not do evil things, you do not go to hell after you die. So this is also another misconception or misunderstanding of Taoism. Say that okay, everybody dies, everybody goes to hell. No, not true. Okay? Because hell is a place of punishment. Right? So compared to the Buddhist concept of Naraka, something like that. Yeah? So I think I will stop here and make a conclusion. So generally, Taoism and Buddhism are institutional religions. I mentioned already. So they are actually not theistic. Now, not theistic. I'm not saying that both religions do not pray to supernatural beings. No, right? Buddha, in the sense, is theistic. Of course, some may disagree with me, but Buddha, okay? Of course, you do not pray to Buddha, but you revere, you honor Buddha. But Buddha still exists, right? Okay? So in these terms, theistic is not, in that sense. Theistic means one God, for example, the Christian God, so on. Okay? So both religions are not theistic, meaning no creationism involved. Okay? So both religions base heavily on three treasures. Now, three treasures, of course, the contents of these three treasures are different. So emphasize on self-cultivation, very important. Self-cultivation. You only can help yourself, nobody or no gods whatsoever else can help you. Right? So self-cultivation is very important. And disapprove of clinging and desires. Okay? Both religions say that. Okay? Strive to liberate from confinements. Confinements here means desires, all that. Okay? So with that, I conclude my talk for this evening. And so sorry that I didn't have so much of the time. Now it's only 9:45. I think we can have another 15 minutes.
Any questions? All questions are welcome.
How does the Tao use the enlightenment and arahant?
Enlightenment?
That means based on Tao, someone like the Buddha or arahant. So, in the Tao's perspective, what state are they in?
Oh, you mean Buddha and Arahant?
So, do you consider that they have attained Tao, or do you? I don't know what's the Tao perspective.
According to Taoism, Buddha has, of course, actually achieved certain, achieved enlightenment. Okay? But in later Taoism, especially the Ming and Qing Taoism, Ming and Qing is around 17th century, 16th, 17th century, Taoism actually acknowledged Buddha or Arahant or the Bodhisattva as a very high achievement beings actually. So that's why during the Ming and Qing dynasty, we have this what we call the unite of three teachings, 三教合一, right? They don't differentiate which one is Taoism, which one is Buddhism, all that. So the practices, the Taoist practices, also sometimes borrow from the Buddhist scriptures and all that. So that is
Is that model? Is it part of Taoism?
There's another topic. The model is actually depends on. Actually, you need to. How do I? You see, the model is a very broad term. They are not Taoist priests, of course. Okay? Why? Because there are many types of Namolo. You have Teochew Namolo, you have Hakka Namolo, you have. Now, to make things easier, you just go to their altar. Okay? You see the display and the altar. If they display the Buddhas, Buddhas, and then their scriptures. When they recite and they chant Namo, 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 and they are not Taoism. They are Namolo. That's why they call it Namo. So sorry to say that,
This
but
burning
it's
of
true.
hell papers to the dead. When a person died, they burn a lot of those ritual on the dead the hell papers. Is it Taoism or is it a folk religion?
It's a folk belief. It's actually a custom rather than religious practice. A custom. Right? Custom. Now, in Taoist scripture, we don't encourage people to burn all these so-called paper money. Why? Because if you burn paper money and then you send it to the other world, hoping that your ancestors will use it as real money, then your ancestors will get clinging to this the money, and then it won't help them to. Yes. Why burning? Because we need, as I mentioned just now, they are living in a state of pure yin, darkness, without light. So when rites and rituals, we perform that, then we burn something, in the hope that we are sending some light to the other world, so that they can see the direction. Okay? Now, of course, this is I make it simple, because it involves the gods and the deities to come and help and all that. So I will skip that part. So I think just if you think that if I don't burn this kind of things, then I feel uneasy. You say, don't know real or not they can use, alright? So burn a little bit, 意思啦。Right? Right? Don't burn a whole, don't burn iPad, don't burn iPhone. If you burn iPhone, iPads, you need to burn the charger. If you want to burn the charger, you need to burn the whole, satellite. If you want to burn a car, you need the engines. Is that a car? Nothing is.
How do the Taoists help those relatives in the underworld?
Help? Okay, find Taoist priest. Chanting, do rites and rituals, Chao Du, mass salvation. Mass salvation. This only the Taoist priest can do. Okay? Now, whether the rites and rituals actually help, we don't know. Only the deities and the gods know. But Taoist priests only practice or only carry out the rites and rituals according to scriptures. The rest is up to, firstly, the deceased merit, and also secondly, the power of God and deities. Yeah.
The Taoists do evoke the power of the divinity, help getting divinity.
No. We are just a medium. Taoist priests are just medium, okay, For example, if you are doing this mass salvation rites and rituals, Chao they are just a medium, okay, between the dead and the gods. Okay. We are actually following the rites and rituals, okay, and then doing all the necessary things, chanting, talismans, and all that. Okay. As I mentioned just now, we do not invoke or we do not use magic, okay, to try to save the soul or whatsoever. No, it's not in that sense. It's all dramas.
So you're asking the deities to save them, is it?
Correct.
Yellow
And
magic
and-
paper.
Sorry?
Yellow magic paper.
Talisman.
Talisman.
Talisman is only used in certain rituals and rites. It's not for you to 发财, okay? It's not for you, say you want to go genting, yeah? You ask the priest to write you a talisman, and then you can, no, it's not in that kind of usage.
The deities one, you're saying the deities from the 28 heavens, that's how it's
No. Actually, in Taoism, there are 36 heavens. So the other 8, 28 plus 8 is 36, right? So the other 8 are permanent. So if you want to live eternally, you need to at least jump out of 28 heavens and go up to the 29th. 29th, 30th, 31st, 36th. The other 8.
29 already, they don't have to calculate if they want.
Correct. You already reached that stage.
Sex stage. Sex. 29 is a sex stage.
29.
CN, yes.
Sex to sex.
But 28 also CN, but
Yes,
they are not permanent.
We watch movie that we see the master catch the ghost.
Follow up with the question. One is that, as you say, in Malaysia, you don't have an organization, you don't have this sort of thing. So, everywhere you see there are Taoist priests. So, how do you know where to get a genuine one first? Second, if you observe the so-called that we see all these Taoist priests, they've got power. You know, they're very powerful. In fact,
In terms of, in what sense they are powerful?
I don't know. Of course, there are cases where like that one I don't know it's true. In story, they can actually catch ghosts, and all this sort of things. And then there are cases I don't know. I see that even in Indonesia, even the dead they can move the all these. So what are they? Are they the byproduct of the power? Are they real Taoist priests? The real teaching? But more important is that in Malaysia, like you said, you have no organization. So where do we get the genuine one? We may end up all the fake. And where do these fake people learn the scripture? Or where do they come from?
My master didn't teach me how to transport the corpse. You know, in Hong Kong's movies, the Kiongsi vampires. My master didn't teach me that. And after, I flip over all this Taoist scripture, I can find nothing about this in the scriptures. It's all. That's why I said earlier, do not get conned by the movies and the dramas. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is the image of Taoist priest in the movies, especially the Hong Kongs and the dramas and all that. They are actually another type of belief system, what we call the 法教. Okay, 法教. So they are actually people practicing talismans, right? And then, they are another system of belief. Strictly speaking, they are not Taoism. Okay, we term them as 法教 because they used to they like to or they practice, okay, all these so-called 法 or magic, right? So 法教, yes. So actually, I don't have an example here. Actually, when you look at the talisman, you immediately will tell that this is 法教 and this is Taoism because the talisman are different. Okay, let's put it this way. When you can read a talisman, if a person show you a talisman, a fu now, if you can read it in Chinese character or whatever, then there's probably a Fa Jiao talisman, not a Taoist talisman. Taoist talisman is much more sophisticated. Okay? You need to know how to actually write a talisman.
Life after death, right?
Mhm.
When a person passes away,
Mhm.
they say it's the 49 days of transition
Mhm.
before it takes the new forms. Well,
That is Buddhism, isn't it?
so, what's the view about that? After death, this 49 days, you have to go to judgment days and you will tell them. Maybe they will happen.
Taoism didn't say that. Taoism only says that in Taoist, never mind, I have already finished. In Taoism, actually, the concept of soul involves two elements. One is called the hun, and another is called po. Okay, so in Taoism, hun and po makes up a human's soul. So when a person dies, hun remains, but as a soul, po will vanish every 7th day. So we have actually 7 po. So every 7 days, you vanish 1 po. That means after 49 days, you only have 1 left. Then you are a ghost. You only have. Hun is something like the spirit. Po is something to do with your body, the functionings of your bodies. If you die, your body do not function anymore, then you do not need the po anymore. So the po will get vanished.
So there's 7 sections of the
7 po, not sections, 7.
7 times. 7 days.
7
And then come
Correct.
back again.
correct.
You mentioned monks
Mhm.
just now. What's the difference between monks and priests?
Actually, they are priests.
Oh, okay.
Okay, for example, I'm a priest, but I'm not, strictly speaking, I'm not a monk. Monk means they need to observe a celebrity. Okay, celibacy, correct. So sorry. Celibacy means that they have to stay in the Dao Guan. Okay? Now in Taoism, there are 2 schools actually. And so one is called the Zhengyi, that's my school, and another one is called the Quanzhen school. The Quanzhen school, the priests, they are actually monks, Taoist monks. So they do not get married, they vow to keep celibacy, and they live in temples.
Physically, can you tell the difference or do they?
If like this, no. But if I take out my hat, yes. Probably the Quanzhen monk, the Quanzhen Taoist monk, they will keep their hair. Okay, they keep their hair and tie a knot. Tie a knot. Okay, and also this cannot tell, but the rope. Okay, when I was wearing a robe right just now.
Yes.
So from the robe, probably you can tell also that it's a Quanzhen and it's a Zhengyi priest.
So suppose a priest decides to keep his hair long, you cannot tell.
I cannot. If I decide to keep my hair long, if my wife approves,
Yeah. Then you cannot tell.
I cannot tell.
May I know the significance of your dress?
Nothing. This is
Just
just
a symbol. This is a symbol.
especially this. Okay. And yes, the significance. What can I say is my shoes and my socks. Taoists, they do not open their shoes. That's why I prepared a new pair of shoes to come in here. I changed my shoes, so I prepared actually a new shoes. I mean, a clean shoes.
Yes.
to go into some, for example, Buddhist temples, because even though I'm not allowed to open my shoes, to take off my shoes, but I need to respect the other religions, especially in other religions' environment, and so I wear a clean pair of shoes.
What's the reason?
Sorry?
What's the reason?
The reason being, Taoists cannot. Taoism believes that dust is not clean. So it symbolizes that when you keep your shoes and you tie your socks tight, then the dust won't attach to you. This is the symbolic meaning. It's different from Buddhism. Buddhism thinks that the shoes are dirty, right? So you do not carry the dirt to the hall or the temple. Okay, so it's different.
Master, is that a date to pray like a Buddha? Sunday, pray to Buddha. So what about this now? Is that a date for that?
Oh yes, there are festivals, Taoist festivals. So, Taoist festival. For example, the Zhongyuan festival I mentioned just now, actually it's not Ghost festival. The 7th lunar month festival, the Zhongyuan festival. Okay? So we actually have three main, the Sangyuan festival, the Zhongyuan festival, and the Xiayuan festival. Okay? The Zhongyuan festival falls on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month. So that's the major one. There are two the Taoist priests, actually the Taoist believers, they actually pray, do prayers and all that. No, that is the supreme god of Taoism, the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor, the Yu Huang, the Jade Emperor. Jade Emperor, according to Taoism, is the supreme god. It's something like he controls everything. He managed the whole universe and all that. Okay.
Where in this clan, where are the Taoists? For example, for Buddhists or Christian, they go to churches. So if a Taoist, where do you perform and all? And the other question is that, so can we define your Tao because it's very abstract? Right?
Correct. That's why.
Is it Tao even higher than the God? So-called God?
No, we cannot talk Tao is not.
Yeah. What is that? Tao so abstract that.
Okay. Just now I mentioned that Tao begets everything, right?
Yes.
Including gods. So God, why he or she becomes God? Because he obtained some kind of principle as a God, so he becomes a God. So in Taoism, even though we have the highest God, the three pure ones, and we have the supreme God, the Jade Emperor, but these gods, they are actually manifestation of Tao. But they are not the Tao itself. Manifestation. Right? Something like the Hinduism's Brahma.
So your Jade Emperor is in which heaven?
The highest one.
36 one.
Yes, correct. 36. We call it Da Luo Tian.
Then how about the Lao Tzu?
Lao Tzu is one of the three pure ones.
So is
you remember?
In 36.
Correct, 36, and also the second, the third, and the fourth heaven.
So is Lao Tzu your last great teacher?
No.
Or you still have great teachers?
We believe that. Great teachers. We believe that. But whether he or she manifests to us, we still do not know. But we believe that every time throughout history there are manifestations of this great of Tao as a great masters.
Where is your so-called
Excuse me, you mentioned before when a person passed away, you return to Tao.
No.
You mentioned that return to Tao,
No.
go back to Tao, go back to Tao.
Then no need to practice and cultivate already.
only if you have cultivated.
You still remember my diagram?
Yes.
So that means this place is an abstract now. This Tao is abstract, something abstract.
Of course, it's abstract. If not, it's abstract, then it becomes a concrete thing. If it becomes a concrete thing, then it cannot become a substance. It cannot become a Tao.
It's not a Tao.
Correct.
Like they say, if you can explain Tao, it's not a Tao.
Correct. Do remember that Tao is not an object. Tao is not an object. Okay? It's emptiness, yeah, something like that, but it's not the Buddhist sense of emptiness. I have wrote an article about this comparison between emptiness, Taoism, and Buddhism. Strictly speaking, it's not the Buddhist sense of emptiness.
Can you explain a bit on emptiness of Tao?
A lot.
It's general.
Okay, let me. Okay, to Buddhism, emptiness is just the true nature of things, right? Because of original dependent origin, right? So why? Because things do not have their own nature. That's why things are empty, right? So Buddhists tackle emptiness in this way. Taoism says that emptiness is actually a feature of Tao, meaning it transcends everything, including the Nagarjuna's Master Nagarjuna's Katos Koti, right? The four verses, right? The being Chatus Koti, yeah, right? The being, not being, both being and not being, both not being and not. It must transcend that. Only if it can become the substance Tao. So in this sense, it transcends everything. In this sense, it is empty. It's empty. So Taoism is talking about emptiness in terms of Tao as a substance. Buddhism talks about emptiness in terms of the connections, okay, the causes and effects amongst phenomena. Different. Or in philosophical terms, we may say that Buddhist emptiness is actually an epistemological concept, epistemological theory of knowledge. Okay? And Taoist emptiness is actually an ontological concept. Ontological means existence. Okay? Something like that. I hope I answered your question. Or you want to read my article? Yes.
The Jiahui considered Tao.
No. So Jiahui is 5 religions as one. 3 not enough, 5. That's why when you go to the Jiahui, you know their so-called temples, you can see 5 pictures saying that, right? 1 is blank. Why blank? Because Islam forbids, any kind of image, isn't it? So 1 is blank. So you can see Sakyamuni, you can see Confucius, Lao Tzu, Jesus, but 1 is blank. So 5 religions, that's 1.
But they also use the yin and yang.
Yeah. But that doesn't make that Taoism.
What is the Tao system for relationship as being born humans? Like, for example, relationship in family. Because there's this phenomena of this what inherited karma. So how does it come about?
I do not get your question.
Because you mentioned that this is what we call 强妇.
城父.
Yes.
Ah.
So, what is the system according to your Tao philosophy for relationships? Let's say in Buddhism, we say that it's our past karma, so we are born in families.
Correct. Agree.
So, what about the philosophy in Tao?
Okay, this is actually, well, I mean, you mentioned that in Buddhism, because of a past karma, right?
Yes.
For example, if you owe
Yeah.
this person, like
Yeah.
past life, you owe him so
Yeah.
such and such, and so then it comes.
Yeah.
But in Taoism, it all depends on the Zhao Hua. We call it Zhao Hua. Zhao Hua means it's you may call it a faith. Okay, no explanation needed.
Yeah, it's like quite spontaneous.
Correct.
Because if you have that Tao to be so and so, you are so and so. And then if there's somebody has that Tao to be your father, is your father, you see? And then if your grandfather, great grandfather in his era is common to go and kill or what, and you inherit his bad karma.
Correct.
That doesn't sound very
Not fair, but not fair if you think that individual is an individual.
Yes.
But in Chinese culture or in Chinese or in Taoist system of thinking, family is the basic unit, or even a clan is a basic unit. So if you think in this way, then if you think that a family is the most basic unit, not the individual, then there should be no problem of, I mean, you just need to admit or you just need to accept that your ancestors do bad things. You need to actually, because they are your ancestors, you are their descendants, you are carrying the same family name. This is what the Chinese culture or Chinese system.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with the Tao.
Correct.
That has nothing to do with the Tao. Because the Tao is, we do not know what determines that you've got that Tao to be such and such.
We do not know. That's why Taoism says 造化 and also 自然, naturalness. No explanation needed. You just need to accept what you are. I always tell my students when I talking about Taoism or Chinese philosophy, please do not go and ask your mother why you give birth to me. Later your mother replies, "I'm so sorry, dear. It's an accident." You are not supposed to ask that. You just accept that you are a daughter. That's all. This is called naturalness. Okay? If you ask more questions, you get more. Yi Jing. Yi Jing is actually, strictly speaking, not a Taoist text because long before the time of Lao Tzu, Yi Jing already existed. Okay? So Lao Tzu, I mentioned that it's around 5-7 something BCE, right? So Yi Jing, Yi Jing can be traced back to like 1400 BCE, the beginning of the Zhou dynasty. So that means Yi Jing is actually a common heritage of Chinese, ancient Chinese culture. So not only the Taoism uses Yi Jing, but the Chinese medicine, for example, also uses Yi Jing. Okay? And also, you'll be surprised, Confucianism also acknowledges Yi Jing. It's one of the 5 great classics of Confucianism. So Yi Jing is actually not, strictly speaking, not Taoism, but the diagram, okay, the gua, okay, the trigrams and the hexagrams, all that, yes, they are being used by Taoism to explain things.
Also for predicting.
Yes, also for predicting. Yes. For divination, feng shui, for example. Yeah. Feng shui uses here and there a bit of I Ching. Yeah.
Is Confucianism same with Taoism?
No, no. Otherwise, you won't be labeled as Confucianism and Taoism, right? Okay. But Confucius and Lao Tzu, they were contemporaries. Okay? Actually, they met. Okay? And Confucius actually was much more younger than Lao Tzu. Okay? So one time, Confucius went to see Lao Tzu and trying to learn from Lao Tzu. Okay? So yeah, so Confucius was around 551 to 479 BCE. 551 to 479 BCE. So there are actually two great masters. One actually, founded Taoism, and one actually founded Confucianism.
Confusing priest like.
In the olden days, maybe yes. In the olden days, especially in the imperial court. Yeah? In the imperial court, the emperors, there are certain kind of people. Okay? They are expertise in these Confucian rites and rituals. But nowadays, with the collapse of the imperial, no more emperor and all that. So these kind of people, vanish. You speaking, we do not have a priest, so-called Confucians priest. Yes.
Can I ask, how is Supreme Topic on? Is it under Tao? And also when our father passed away, we do Saigong. Is it the one called Tao?
Saigong? Okay, Saigong, the question Saigong is same as the question of Lamolo. It depends on, you need to look at the scriptures and their rites and rituals. Only you can determine whether they are Taoist or not. So this is actually very headache for me actually. Topic Gong is actually the earth god. The earth deity. Tu Di, the earth deity in Taoism. Yes, we have earth deity in Taoism. Okay? But sometimes in Chinese household, Topic Gong usually will something like that. Like you pray to the Topic Gong for wealth, and that. Okay. But in Taoism, strictly speaking, Topic Gong has his specific duty or function. What duty or function? He will help to send our prayers to heaven. That's one of the duties of Topic Gong. So every time we chant, we will have one acknowledgement to this so-called Topic Gong. So because we believe that Topic Gong will help to deliver these prayers to heaven.
为学乐意，为道乐损。Do we need to throw away all our knowledge, all our dhammas?
No. It depends on how you explain or interpret the character 学. 学. What do you 学? 学 literally means learn. Learn, right? But what does it mean learn? What is the meaning learn here? In the scripture, in the Tao Te Ching, learn 学 means you learn all those kinds of tricks, bad things. You understand? When you learn this kind of bad things, tricks, for example. That is what the Tao Te Ching calls 学. So this learning is bad learning, not good learning, not objective scientific learning, not are not the Taoism not it's not talking about learning science or learning language or learning what. This 学 means things that you learn will help you to do evil, will help you to do bad things. This is why we call what the Taoism says 学. That's why 为学日益，为道日损. 益 means get more of what? More desires. If you learn all these kind of tricks, your desire will increase. 为学日益，为道日损, your desire will lessen day by day. This is the correct explanation of the verse. 为学日益，为道日损.
So is it correct that your concluding advice is to cultivate when you are human?
Correct.
Otherwise, when you die, you're in a blah world, and it's very
Thank you.
difficult to cultivate.
Yes. Why? Because you do not have yang anymore. As long as you still possess a human body, you're still alive, meaning you still have, even though you're 90 years old, you're still alive, right? You still have a little bit of yang. Rather than after you have zero yang, you want to cultivate from ground zero. Yes, you can, but it will be very difficult.
So how do these people cultivate, or these beings cultivate?
Mm.
Are there teachers there?
Oh yes,
Oh, okay.
we have 风都大帝, for example. Yeah? Something like the 地藏王, you know, in Chinese Buddhism. Okay? And of course, it will be difficult. And also, remember, I mentioned this now, the 超度 part. Okay? If the 超度 rituals can help the dead to send them to certain higher rhyme, then they will be fortunate.
Does it mean that we are human only have one chance now? After we're gone, no more coming back?
It depends. If you are very, very bad and evil person, yes, you will be reborn as something else.
Reborn.
Yes, as I said just now, Taoism actually acknowledges the cycle of rebirth. Yes, but it is not like Buddhism. Buddhism, if you do not talk about rebirth, then you cannot talk about Buddhism anymore.
Because this one is one life. Everything when people meet, we only have one life. I mean,
Yes,
only one life. Then
Yes.
how did we end up as a human being in the first place?
this is the same question that this sister.
The Tao.
Why? This is actually the question like, why a dog is a dog? Why a cat is a cat? Why me is me? Why you ask your mother? Why you give birth?
Can we, when we die, then if we have the right substance, we can come back as a human being again? Is there a possibility?
Why do you want to come back?
No. I just because this one is very, but you say very strict, in the sense that one chance finish, like you say, once you go on, that kind of thing. Must very strict kind of thing, There's no repent,
Repent, yes.
I mean, so you go to the next world to repent.
Go to the next world.
Punishment.
It's very strict. It's very strict.
Punishment.
How duality, no good nor bad.
Tao, I mentioned this now, the good, the utter good. Okay? 至善. But this good is not the good in our world, but it's utter good. You remember that. Remember that. If Tao is no good, no bad, then my examples won't. Do you still remember the thief example, the rapist thief example? Then it won't work. Okay? Tao must be utterly good.